Scottish parties will focus on women, the NHS, and taxes as election campaigning continues. The Scottish Labour Party will target the female vote as it launches its manifesto for women in Glasgow. In Edinburgh, the SNP will challenge Labour to match their NHS spending plans, with health budgets also a key issue for the Scottish Conservatives. And the Scottish Liberal Democrats said their plans to fight tax evasion would allow them to boost NHS funding. Margaret Curran, Yvette Cooper, and Kezia Dugdale will launch Scottish Labour's Women's Manifesto, pledging to stop cuts to tax credits. Ms. Curran will warn the SNP's plans for full fiscal autonomy could see the benefit cut by £806, which she said would affect women and families. Speaking ahead of the launch, she said, "Tax credits protect people on low incomes and they lift people out of poverty. They are one of the last Labour government's greatest legacies. Labour will protect tax credits, with increases every year in line with inflation, supporting hard-working families." The Women's Manifesto will also include guaranteeing a paid job for every 18 to 24-year-old woman out of work for more than a year, using devolved powers to introduce a 50% quota for women on public boards, forcing companies with more than 250 employees to report their pay gap. Funding challenge. Meanwhile, Nicola Sturgeon will challenge the Labour Party to match the SNP's commitment to increase the NHS budget across the UK by £9.5 billion above inflation. She said, "Our NHS is our most important public resource and the SNP will do everything we can to ensure that it is properly funded and protected as a public service. That's why we've been clear that we will vote to boost NHS funding by £9.5 billion across the UK, delivering a total increase for Scotland's NHS of £2 billion. The SNP's plans for modest public spending increases would give our NHS staff the support they need and ensure our health service continues to deliver a first-class service for patients. Labour in Scotland now need to back our plans on the health service or explain to people why they are more committed to cuts than to our NHS." On the same theme, Scottish Conservative Deputy Leader Jackson Carlaw will highlight his party's plans to boost NHS spending during a visit to a care home in East Renfrewshire. He said, "The Conservatives have pledged to put an additional £8 billion a year into the NHS. That means an extra £800 million for Scotland's hospitals and care facilities. Only with a strong economy can you have a strong NHS, and that's why a vote for the Conservatives is so essential. Anyone else would either jeopardise the economy, risk the future of the UK, or both." Meanwhile, Scottish Liberal Democrat leader Willie Rennie said his party's plans to cut tax avoidance and tax evasion would free up £800 million to invest in the NHS in Scotland and increase spending on early years education. Speaking to BBC Scotland's Good Morning Scotland programme, he said he believed no party would win an overall majority in the general election and a strong SNP were a threat to the country. He said, "The choice at the election is straightforward. Who do we want to have the biggest influence in the next parliament? We don't want to veer off to the left with the SNP or veer off to the right with the Tories." He added, "The alternative choice is the Liberal Democrats holding the centre ground." Voters across the UK go to the polls on May 7.